in the rolling hills of the countryside. It was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone else, and the only thing that ever really changed was the weather. But despite its peacefulness, there were always whispers of strange happenings in the village. Some said that the old manor house on the outskirts of town was haunted by the ghost of a young woman who had died there many years ago. Others claimed that the ancient graveyard on the hill was cursed, and that the spirits of the dead walked among the headstones at night. One evening, a young woman named Caroline arrived in Milton. She had come to the village to take up a position as governess at the manor house. She was a kind and gentle soul, and the villagers welcomed her with open arms. But as she settled into her new home, she began to notice that there was something not quite right about the place. The first thing she noticed was the strange noises that seemed to come from the walls of the house. They were faint at first, but gradually grew louder until it seemed as though there were people whispering and whispering on the other side of the plaster. Caroline tried to ignore the sounds, but they haunted her dreams at night, and she found herself growing more and more uneasy. One night, as she was sitting in her room, she heard a knock at the door. She opened it to find a young man standing on the threshold. He was tall and handsome, with dark hair and piercing blue eyes. He introduced himself as Robert, the master of the house, and told Caroline that he had heard about her arrival in the village. Caroline was immediately drawn to Robert, and the two of them began to spend a great deal of time together. They would walk through the countryside, talking about everything and nothing, and Caroline found herself falling deeply in love with him. But despite her growing feelings for Robert, Caroline could not shake the feeling that something was not quite right about the manor house. She began to notice that the noises in the walls were getting louder, and that the ghostly whispers seemed to be coming from directly outside her door. One night, as she was lying in bed, she heard a soft voice calling her name. She got up and opened the door to find a ghostly figure standing in the hallway. It was the ghost of a young woman dressed in a white gown with long, flowing hair. The ghost beckoned to Caroline, and she followed her down the hallway until they reached a door at the end of the corridor. The ghost opened the door, and Caroline found herself standing in a room that she had never seen before, filled with a strange, unearthly light. And there, lying on the bed, was Robert. Caroline was shocked and confused. She asked Robert what was going on, but he only smiled and told her that everything would be explained in due time. And with that, the ghostly figure vanished and the door closed behind Caroline, trapping her in the room with Robert. For the next few days, Caroline was held captive in the room, unable to leave and unable to understand what was happening. But eventually, Robert revealed the truth to her. He told her that he was not the master of the manor, but rather the ghost of a young man who had died in the house many years ago. He had fallen in love with Caroline at first sight and had been unable to leave her side. Caroline was horrified by this revelation, but at the same time, she found herself unable to turn away from Robert's ghost. She had fallen deeply in love with him, and the thought of leaving him was unbearable. For many months, Caroline lived in the manor house, trapped between the world of the living and the world of the dead. She would spend her days with Robert talking and laughing, and her nights listening to the ghostly whispers that echoed through the halls. But despite the strange circumstances of her life, Caroline was happy. She was content to spend her days with Robert, and she knew that as long as she was with him, she would be happy. Years passed, and eventually the villagers of Milton began to notice that Caroline had not aged at all. They whispered among themselves, wondering what had become of the young governess who had once come to the village. But Caroline paid them no mind, for she knew that she would never be able to leave Robert's side. And so, she remained in the manor house, a ghost among ghosts, content in the love that she had found in the world of the dead. To this day, some say that if you listen closely, you can still hear the ghostly whispers of Caroline and Robert talking and laughing in the manor house, forever trapped in their own kind of haunted love story to this day.